Hey guys, it's Cameron, and in this video, I wanted to talk to you guys about how I went from being homeless, sleeping on my mum's sofa and floor, and my backstory that isn't really that great, I didn't have a great start, to working on over six figures in tech at the ages of 23 and being an Apple engineer. Now, this is going to be something that isn't going to be like a lot of the other videos, right? I'm just going to be sitting here, I'm going to be talking to you guys, providing as much value as possible, um, and yeah, just kind of relaying all of the information that I wish I had when I first started trying to break into tech as well. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Cameron. I'm an ex-Apple engineer. I'm 23, and from the ages of 17 to 21, I spent about those 4 years building out proven systems to break into tech. And then I leveraged those exact same systems to break into Apple as an engineer at 20, which then kind of kickstarted my career in tech and in the tech industry. Now, in terms of, I guess, like starting this story off, I don't really have like, I don't know how to start it, so I'll just kind of get straight into it with, I guess, like from the start, right? So, um, me being born up until about the ages of 14, I was I was pretty good. I had a pretty good lifestyle, you know. I was growing up in a house. I had parents that were together. I, great Christmases, holidays, that kind of stuff. I wasn't getting good grades or anything because I didn't have the need to kind of excel in that area. I felt like I kind of had everything at that point. And yeah, that was up until about the ages of, well, actually, I would say like 12, I would say. From there, my parents then got a divorce. At the ages of 14, I then went from living at my mum's, so in the house that I grew up in, all of that kind of stuff, to living with my dad. Now, in terms of divorces, right, and this is a bit off topic, but if any of you are thinking of getting a divorce, like genuinely don't for the sake of your kids, because it can like, I was going to say mess them up, and of course that is true, but it just makes it a lot harder for them to figure out exactly what they want to do because it kind of just like disrupts their entire life, right? But if they choose the right mindset, then it can work for them, right? As it's kind of done with me. But basically, when I was 14, I moved in with my dad. It was in a two-bed flat. It was in a pretty rough town. I won't mention the town or anything, but it was in a pretty rough town in the UK. And I was in a two-bed flat. There was, periods of my time there where I would, see in the streets like, drug deals, homeless people shouting, fighting, that kind of stuff. So it really wasn't a great area. And I grew up from the ages of 14 to 21 there before I got my own apartment. And it was a bit of a hurdle, right? When I was in the situation, I was in GCSEs. I was probably in like year 10, right? So basically like just coming up to my GCSEs, I think. I can't even remember. This was like 7 years ago. But something like that. I was in like 1 year before my exams for GCSEs. And then from there, I was studying a bit. To be honest, I'm not a naturally smart person. I was surrounded by people in school, and this is something that is actually very common, but you're in school, you're surrounded by people who are very smart, right? Like nine, like grade, like A-star students, and they've never touched like a piece of revision in their life. And it's actually quite crazy because I don't actually understand how it works even to this day, but I'm not one of those people, right? I was getting fours and fives, which is like C's and D's pretty much. I wasn't naturally smart. That's exactly the type of grades I got for my GCSEs. So that was from the ages of like 15, 16, I think, yeah, for GCSEs. From there, I then went on to do A levels, right? So advanced levels for physics, computer science, and IT. And that's actually where I started kind of putting in more of the effort, right? Putting in more of the work, that kind of stuff. So I was studying A levels during the day. So physics, computer science, and IT, all in the day as much as possible. And then I would come home in my evenings and I would learn as much as possible about breaking into tech, the tech industry, the job markets, what companies are hiring, what companies are even looking for, right? all of these things, and then that's kind of where I started building out my, the proven solutions that I leveraged to break into Apple, right? So I did that from the ages of 17 to 18, right? And when I was 17, I actually did this kind of interesting thing, which was I leveraged positive opportunity cost to get my first internship role in tech. Now, I've made a whole separate complete video on that, so feel free to watch that if you would like to know more about positive opportunity costs. But essentially, I did that to land my first tech internship, and that was at the ages of 18, but I was doing the interviews when I was 17. So that was kind of like my initial kind of in, right? But before that, that wasn't my first job. Before that, I was working part-time alongside A-levels doing, so the first job I had was a waiter, and I was a waiter on £4.35 an hour, and I still remember that number to this day because it's so extremely low. I went then off after that to retail for a seasonal hire over Christmas, and then from there I then worked in a warehouse as well. I worked in a warehouse probably for about 3 months. I was Monday to Saturday, 9 till 6, so I really kind of grinded it out there. It wasn't a great job, to be completely honest. I mean, none of them were, I guess, ideal. I wanted kind of more freedom, more luxuries. To be completely honest, I just wanted to work into tech, right? And it wasn't really any of the stuff that I have now. I wasn't thinking when I was 17, when I wasn't in tech yet, about working at Apple, 6 figures, my own penthouse, that kind of stuff. Those are just kind of, I guess, like nice, like added, I guess, benefits on top of that, right? But those are the jobs I had before the internship. When I got the internship, it was just before I went off to university. Now, from there, I went off to university and I started kind of kick-starting the process even further in terms of what companies are looking for and things like that. So I went to university, I started building out and curating my solutions even more. And from there, it allowed me to spend time, and this is how I kind of did time management, I guess. So I spent the bare minimum requirement to get good grades in my university degree for computer science, and then the rest of the time spent on career progression, job market research, analysis, and whatnot. And I did that for about 3 years straight. And there was things that I did inside university as well. So I got like published research, I got multiple certifications, and those coupled with the strategies that I built from 17 to 21, that ultimately led me into the position that I got at Apple, right? And that was an internship position for a summer. And there was an opportunity to go on as a graduate after that, after you finish your studies, if you did well in the internship, which is what I did. So I did the internship, did well, got the graduate offer, went back to university for a year, finished my studies, got a first class, and then started back at Apple again as like a graduate. Now, in between the internship and the graduate offer, that's the portion where I became homeless for a period of time. And I'll actually go into details regarding this, so you kind of have like the full picture. But essentially, as a graduate, I kind of graduated from university, but I graduated into becoming homeless, right? Now, this isn't something that I'm more comfortable talking about it now because it was quite a while ago now. I think it was like 2.5, 3 years ago now. But essentially, what happened with this was essentially I was living with my dad, right? Which is kind of the story I've mentioned already. There was a situation that happened. I won't go into the details regarding it, but essentially I had to leave, right? I had to leave and I had not really many other places to go. So the only place I could go was basically where I came from, which was my mum's. So I moved back in with my mum, but it wasn't the house that I grew up in because that had to be sold off because, various different reasons, the divorce and things like that, right? Fees and whatnot. So I didn't move back into that amazing house that I grew up in from the ages of when I was born to 14, to 14. But it was a 2-bed flat that my mum now lives in with my brother. And because it's a 2-bed flat, there was no spare bedroom, right? There was nowhere to sleep, to live, to relax, right? So that's when I kind of started living, I guess, / sleeping on my mum's sofa. Now, the reason why I said floor earlier, I'm not even sure if I mentioned the floor, but the reason why I was sleeping on my mum's sofa and floor was because, well, the sofa was the original viable option. However, I was getting massive back pain, right? And I can actually look. This sofa here is literally. I took like my mum allowed me to have this sofa when I moved in as kind of like a home warming present, right? But and I see it a bit differently because this sofa right here, right? I know you can't really see it, but you can see a bit of it. It's not that big, and this is the exact sofa I was sleeping on when I was at my mum's, when I got basically kicked out by my dad. This is the sofa that I spent months sleeping on, getting massive back pain because I'm too big for it. And that's when I had to start sleeping on the floor. And this was leading up to my graduate position. Now, in this portion of time, I wasn't kind of thinking clearly, right? There probably was other places I could have perhaps maybe even went. I don't know. I probably maybe even started my graduate role at Apple sooner, so then I could have not been in that situation for any longer extended periods of time, perhaps as well. But I wasn't really thinking of that at the time because of the situation that I was going through. So that's ultimately what happened. And then when I started the graduate position at Apple, it gave me the financial means and the financial ability to get my own apartment. So I started renting the apartment that I'm currently in now, and I've been here ever since. It's, it's a very nice space. I absolutely love it. You've got some great views as well. And it just provides me that clarity to know that I don't ever have to go back to, sleeping on the sofa again. Because that wasn't a good time in my life. And God's really been testing me with stuff like that. But I am grateful for the opportunities, right? But essentially, that was my background. Now, I then went on to, of course, go to the graduate Apple position, right? And if I had to kind of give you some key kind of points that can help you in terms of either A, avoiding the situations that I've been in that haven't been the ideal, or B, getting to the ideal situations that you want to, which is, I guess, from this video, if you're watching this, breaking into tech and things like that, then here's exactly what I did to be able to break into Apple, right? As an intern and then to get the graduate position. So let me just have some coffee first. So the first thing you need to do, and it's the exact same thing that I did, but you need to actually showcase your skill sets. You need to showcase the value that you can provide. You need to showcase your technical skill sets, and you need to do it in a way that doesn't just hide it on your CV. You can put your technical skill sets on your CV, sure, but only, a few recruiters, a few hiring managers and companies are going to see that. You need to widen the scope more, right? And you need to demonstrate and showcase that value of what you can do with your current existing technical skill set. Now, if you can do this, it's going to attract a lot more attention and actually show companies what's possible if they were to hire you. So showcase your skill set. Now, on top of this, if you can showcase your skill set in a very unique way, so one that stands out from all of the other candidates, all of the other competition, then that's ultimately where you start kind of getting multipliers on the replies that you get, the acceptances that you get, the interviews that you get, right? And ultimately offers as well, right? Because if you're going to be copying every single other person in the candidate pool that is, struggling to be hired, then you're going to get the exact same results as them struggling to be hired. Whereas if you copy the exact same strategies, or maybe even build your own like what I had to do, then you can ultimately stand out above the competition. So then you actually get more interviews, more offers, more recruiter DMs, more hiring managers reaching out to you, that kind of stuff. Now, you then want to, and in terms of demonstrating value and showcasing your skill sets, right? Like this is just kind of a bit of a side point I've just thought of, but you need to make sure like you are doing it in areas that you do have a technical skill set in. And you don't need the best technical skill set, but of course, if you want to break into tech, you do need some level of technical skill set. So whatever one that you have currently, whether you're feeling like you're an expert in it or you're just starting out, you can always provide value. And the value is only going to expedite and progress over time. So what you know right now, let's say that it's the bare minimum, it's the bare minimum of coding, right? So like basic kind of coding for Python or Java or something like that. You can still provide value in that, right? You have that technical skill set, even if it's the basics. You can provide value, right? You can do coding projects, you can do other sort of projects as well. You can, do all of these things. And that's actually showcasing the value that you have. right? And then the more you learn over time, the more you advance and increase your technical skill sets, so then you can provide even more value in the future because you know more, right? So it's kind of taking that from your mind and putting it into reality as hard kind of coded value. Now, that is an example for coding, right? But this can really be for any sort of technical skill set. Now, you then want to showcase that value that you can provide, right? So as I mentioned, not just putting it on your CV. From there, you also want to make sure that you're not taking a casual approach when it comes to breaking into tech. The winners, and this goes for anything, right? But the winners in any particular field, they act with extreme urgency, right? Whether that's you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a tech professional, or you want to be a tech professional, if you act with urgency, you're going to get 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times the amount of results as a multiplier based on people who take a more casual approach. And I'll give you an example of this, all right? If you want kind of like a kind of real world example to kind of see what this looks like in practice of not taking a casual approach, it's going to be, so let's take like job postings, right? So you're looking for a full-time tech role or an internship or something like that. Instead of just kind of going on LinkedIn once, seeing 2 jobs, you apply to one of them with like a CV that you made 6 months ago, and then you just kind of forget about it and go back to whatever you was doing before, right? Netflix, video games, going out with your friends, going to the pub, whatever it was, you just continue to do that, right? Okay, that's a casual approach. That's an example of a casual approach. If you actually had a winner's approach, right? So urgency, not having a casual approach, it's going to look a bit more like this. You're on LinkedIn multiple times per week. You're going through the job tab. You're identifying 15 of the best roles that are best suiting for you, and you're applying to every single one of them with an up-to-date current CV. From there, that then leads into interviews, and after you've applied, you actually start performing interview preparation, right? So you just start preparing for the interviews that you know that you're going to get, and then from there, you then transition that into the interview stages. That is a winner's approach to actually breaking into tech, and that's exactly what I did to break into Apple at the ages of 20. And that is something that most people, and I don't understand, I still don't understand this, right? Even kind of like as like a industry kind of expert in the field, but I'm not sure why it's such a casual approach in terms of breaking into tech. People act like it's like a breeze. It's really not. Like if you right now apply to 50 positions with whatever you have on your CV, whatever you have in your cover letter, that kind of stuff, it's unlikely. Well, of course I don't know you, right? But if you're watching this video, chances are you want to break into tech and you're not in tech yet, or you want the career progression that you're not currently getting. So with that being said, you probably wouldn't be getting the ideal results that you want to be getting, right? So I don't understand why it's like such a casual approach for like most candidates. But if you can differentiate yourself above that and you can actually act with urgency, genuinely care about the career and the progression that you want in tech, then that can ultimately lead you into some of the world's biggest companies and some of the world's best companies as well, right? So Apple, Google, whatever companies you want to work for, right? NASA, SpaceX, whatever it may be. So if you can do those things, those key takeaways, right? Showcase your skill sets in a very practical way and ideally in a USP, a unique selling point to stand out. Showcase the value that you can provide and not just on your CV. So you actually kind of push it out to a lot more people. So that can be on your LinkedIn, your friends and family, blog posts, really whatever. And then also not ensuring that you're not taking a casual approach and you are genuinely putting in the amount of effort and time and energy it takes to ultimately get the career progression and the kind of career in general that you're looking for. That's ultimately going to make all of the difference, right? And by the way, guys, if you need help with any of this, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the description and we can actually discuss about how I can help you more in terms of breaking into tech. But that's ultimately what you want to do, and some of the key takeaways that I personally used to break into Apple at such a young age, in my early 20s. I'm 23 years old now. I broke into Apple at the ages of 20. Most people do not break into Apple or any kind of FAANG company for at least like a decade in the industry. So, how I managed to do this was from the points that I've mentioned just now, but it's also been about, curating that process over time from the ages of 17 to 21, right? So you do genuinely need to spend time building out the lifestyle that you want, the life that you want, the career that you want. So that's personally what I did, and more so my backstory as well, because I know it's important. I've got a few messages regarding my backstory, and they kind of wanted to know a bit more detail, so I thought I'd kind of put them into this video as well, to know exactly where I came from, where I started, the hurdles, trials and tribulations I had to get over as well. So for example, ghostings, rejections, homeless, juggling kind of low progression, low pay jobs like being a waiter, working in retail, all the way into the situation that I'm currently in right now. And by the way, guys, if you have any stories, right, if you have anything that you kind of relate to or you find that is similar, feel free to put your stories in the comments, and I can actually reply back to them. I can provide you tailored advice based on your current situations, your current story, and kind of what I would do if I was you as well. But yeah, I wanted to share this value, right? Because this value is very important. And if you start implementing the value that I share in either this video and also the other videos as well, you will be breaking into tech, and you will be kind of seeing a much clearer pathway in terms of your ideal role and how to ultimately get there as well. So the actual roadmap as well. But that's pretty much everything for what I wanted to share as value in this video. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.